going into the next subject, man, we have a real serious, like real serious discussion that I have with a lot of fans that call me crazy, but they off there, yeah. But we got the Houston Texans, man, with all the acquirees that we done picked up in this 2024 offseason. Do we believe that the Texans are legitimate Super Bowl contenders?
I know it's your team, T-Cal. I know it's your team, T-Cal, but I'm going to say not yet. I think, I just don't think – I mean, they're still young. C.J. Stroud is going into his second year. I mean, because I don't think that they're prepared to beat the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Miami's of the world. I just don't think that they're ready yet. But it's coming though. They're all on the way. They're en route. You know what I'm saying? I think let CJ get a little bit more experience in that team in general. Just get more experience, and then in a couple of years we might be having a whole different conversation. We probably will be having a different conversation. Not we probably will.
Keith, what's your standpoint
on it? Let me find my notes here. So I do think they're in that championship bubble for sure. Like every year, I try to think of a bubble of teams I think can legitly not just get there, but actually like hoist the Lombardi Trophy. And they're in there. One of the things I'm big about is in the AFC. CJ is the only quarterback who hasn't looked across the field and seen Patrick Mahomes yet and lost. You know what I mean? Josh Allen has seen him twice in the playoffs. Man, heartbreaking. 13 seconds left and been like, God, man, that guy is he's just better. Exactly. Lamar just last year looked across and lost to him in horrible fashion. Didn't play this worst game of the season. Joe Burrow, the last time they met in the playoffs, he beat Joe Burrow to get to the Super Bowl, ended up winning the Super Bowl. So I think CJ is the only guy, knowing his confidence, knowing the way he carries himself, knowing the way he projects confidence into the rest of the team. I think he would be able to look across at Patrick Mahomes, because at some point you got to go through Arrowhead to get to that bowl. You know what I mean? Whether you're playing against him, whether you're at home or where you got to go see that man in red and 15. So I think for those reasons, like, they are a contender because CJ hasn't felt that pain of losing. He feel like he's playing with house money with it. But I mean, I think it's a lot of things looking up for the Texans. Preseason, they played well. People think it's a weak division. Whether me personally, I don't think it's a weak division. A lot of people do think that division they're far ahead of, in front of everybody else. And then we've seen it all the time with quarterbacks who've been good at all take that second year jump. You know what I mean? And he had the best rookie quarterback season of all time, in my opinion. So for those reasons, man, those would be my glass half full reasons why I think they're contenders.
I mean, this is just, oh my goodness. I mean, I can't believe. I mean, I know no shocking Big Shift because he's a Texans hater, but the Texans are most definitely viable Super Bowl contenders. And me, I don't want to speak out of context because it is my team, but the Texans are like, the fact that we were competitive last year with that roster, and not to say that it was just a horrendous roster, but it's nothing to the likes of what we have now. And obviously, talent on paper means one thing, and what you put on field, and that means a whole nother. But CJ Stroud was out there throwing the ball to Nico Collins, Robert Woods. I can't even say Noah Brown because Noah Brown was injured by half the season. Tank Dell was injured the second half of that season. I mean, we had that whole second half of the season with Don Schultz, emerging Nico Collins, and Robert Woods, and he elevated that team to heights that nobody could have ever imagined. So to say, I mean, CJ Stroud, everybody kind of like to put him in like, like the league done got film on him. Now they done figured him out. Whoop-de-whoop. I mean, hey, it's not an unrealistic statement. It happens. Like, I've seen it before. I've done seen it happen to a lot of people. But CJ Stroud, if we can all be honest and unbiased here, where he does not look like the average rookie at all. He showed it last year where he demolished every rookie record. I mean, he threw for 470 against Tampa Bay. with no kicker. Took him down the field 47 seconds, no timeouts. I mean, his clutch gene, it's so many good things I can continue to go down the list and say why we're a contender strictly off our quarterback, but I like to talk about the collective around the team and the defensive presence that we got with the Neil Hunter being able to he embodies the Houston Texans. I mean, Christian Harris. I mean, when he comes back, he's an electrifying fast linebacker. You got Azir Shahir. I mean, he's an alpha. I mean, in Tennessee, I mean, he's like the field general. Like, I don't know. Derek Stanley with an All-Pro year coming. I mean, we got Bullock out of USC that's taking reps with the first team. It's so much that we have, so much talent. And I don't believe in the other teams in the AFC. I mean, it started off with the Ravens. I mean, the addition of Derrick Henry, a lot of people think that's the missing piece on what's going to change their Super Bowl fortunes. But truthfully, I think Texans, we might be second in line. And when it comes to real deals, contenders in the AFC for a Super Bowl, behind the Chiefs, I would say we're the biggest threat to the Chiefs. I don't think Cincinnati, I think they took a step back with some of the losses that they had on their roster. I think Baltimore, their biggest thing is quarterback play. And, I mean, Lamar Jackson have yet to show us a reason to believe in him when it comes in January and February. I mean, he ain't never touched February, but in January, Josh Allen, his team has demolished completely. All of those luxury players that they had the privilege of having for those 2-3 years, they're gone. They're able to expensive.
I have two things before you go, Charles. So for you, T-Cal, so my glass half empty for the Texans not being championship contenders. First of all, their over under is 9.5. I think that's free money.
That's disrespectful.
Yeah, I think that's free money. If y'all want to go bet that, now I know a lot of places still 9.5. I think that's very, very free money.
Disrespectful.
And then also, I don't know if you've seen the last 8 games, like the back half of the schedule, but it's not nice. So I'm gonna just read them off for you before you go, Charles. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have the Lions. This is their last 8 games. They got Lions, Cowboys,
win.
Tennessee again, Jacksonville again. They got a bye. Then they got Miami, and then they end with KC, Baltimore, and then Tennessee again. I think that's pretty brutal. Like,
I think we'll probably
come out of that 4-4. Like, I would take 4-4 coming out of that.
Bro said 6-2. He's a delusional Texans fan. That is ridiculous.
6-2.
That's ridiculous.
Do y'all not know the team that we have?
Who are you gonna lose? Who are the 2 losses to? Kansas City and Baltimore, right?
I didn't say Kansas City.
I'm asking.
You're not beating because y'all got Kansas City and Baltimore back-to-back weeks. That's week 7. That's week 16 and 17, or 15 and 16. Y'all not coming out of that 2-0.
Y'all. I mean, I'm not even saying we're coming out of that 2-0. I think we'll lose to Baltimore just off of after the emotional high that we have after beating Kansas City. But
okay.
I probably I mean, I think it's a realistic. I think the Texans, this absolute ceiling could be 13-4. I think with the brutal schedule that we have the team to go in there and compete with anybody when it comes to our back end, which people might think is a little shaky. But Jimmy Ward being here, his presence is felt, even though he's inactive majority games. I think if he's available and the rest of our team is somewhat healthy, I think we can take on a lot of – we can really take on the field. I mean, I think we're a real live threat to whoever coming out the NFC. Or let me start off with Mahomes because the Bucks ends on Mahomes' death. And I believe that the Texans, we have the weapons. We have the coaching structure. We have the quarterback that's a top 5 elite quarterback in the league. And C.J. Stroud that – I feel like that can take the team to places that I feel like that we can make it, which it will be the Super Bowl or AFC Championship. I think I want to see it all come together. on the, on the screen before I make any assumptions, but I don't see too many teams realistically messing with us this season.
So, as much as Tyler wants to kind of switch the narrative, I am a Texans fan, and but I will also try to leave out my bias in speaking my truth. The thing about the Texans that I like it so much is that what Tyler didn't even allude to this. You can't necessarily name a lot of things. The things that I'm talking about, I can't name 5 teams off the top of my head objectively better than the Texans roster. I mean, you could probably have your subjective things, but if I struggle to look at a lot of teams and think, okay, yeah, they're for sure better than Houston. I struggle to name teams outside of Kansas City that on paper we can't fuck with. And even with Kansas City being at the top of that list, that's something that we can definitely reach as well. I struggle to name a hole that we have on both sides of the ball. We already got a top-tier quarterback. We already know how electric our receiving core is. Our running backs is looking pretty damn good, especially with what Cam Akers is giving us. Damian Pierce, who knows what we'll get from him, but we don't have to worry about that because we got Joe Mixon. Dalton Schultz is an underrated tight end who will let his presence be felt as a security blanket on third downs for shit show. The offensive line was makeshift the entire year last season, and we still somehow managed to win 10 games. Not everybody's essentially back healthy. The defensive line just got some new pieces, and even with Autry's suspension, we're going to be more than formidable and ferocious, especially with a lot of rotational pieces, but with the anchor of that being Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr. The linebacking core, we're going to miss Christian Harrison, but I like Henry To'oTo'o filling in that role for a temporary amount of time, and he mentioned Azeez Al-Shaair. I mean, he was top 5 in total tackles last year on a struggling Tennessee team. Now, that's saying something. As being one of the only pieces on the defensive side of the ball and being as electric as you are to be an eye-popping talent. Because, I mean, even I pointed out that, damn, he's actually making plays against us when we was going against him twice. The back half, the secondary, we already know what we're getting from DSJ. I have a lot of Derek Stingley Jr.
Nigga, who called him DSJ? He banging up his old age and shit.
Hey, let him rock. Let him rock, man.
Hey, either way, call him whatever you want to call him. Just make sure you add all pro at the end. But
so it just comes down to experience. Like I said, y'all have the pieces. It's just the experience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's okay. You don't gotta believe.
For me, listen. For me,
it's experience, bro. That's what it comes down to.
But what experience?
It's the first place schedule for me, bro. Like Jacksonville, Tennessee, and the Colts, none of them made the playoffs, so they don't have first place schedules. Like, I just feel like they're gonna have to scratch and claw, especially towards the end of the game or the end of the year. I think they're making the playoffs no matter what. It's just winning the division, and I think Jacksonville can win the division based off them not having a first place schedule, if you know what I mean.
I think that's not a terrible thing to think about, but you just look at Jacksonville on a higher level than me personally. I can respect that. I understand where you're coming from because while I can admit that Jacksonville is not better than Houston, I can admit that there is benefits to having a weaker schedule. But at the same time, I just think that there's a significant gap between where Houston is and where Jacksonville is in terms of not only quarterback play, not only in terms of that level of, leading an efficient offense, but in terms of coaching, in terms of D'Amico versus Doug Peterson, in terms of the OC versus the OC in Jacksonville, in terms of the receiving core, because we don't necessarily know what we're getting from Gabe Davis. We don't necessarily know what we're going to get from those guys that's on that Jacksonville side, but we do understand that we're getting legitimately 3 guys that you can't necessarily double any one of them other than whenever they're going off for over 100 in the first half.
Charles, I got something to say too, and it might be a hot take and stuff. I'll let you finish, but I believe that CJ Stroud is the 3rd best quarterback in the AFC behind when it comes to like being able to be that guy for their team. I think it's only Mahomes Mahomes and Burrow. I don't think nobody else. I think it's a debate. You could put CJ right behind those two guys when it comes to actual
I disagree with that. And this is why we have
a lot of rankings have them like that. It's like Mahomes, Burrow, CJ. Yeah, I think that's
that's why I would agree with Cheers in that though. Where that's why I think experience comes. Whether we on the same. Me and you, TK, we on the same side as thinking. Okay, he didn't have just a regular rookie season. He wasn't just a regular rookie. He's going to build off this show. I think that 100%. But at the same time, it is one season, bro. You know what I mean? As much as we believe it, it is one season. So that's why I wouldn't elevate him to number 3 in the AFC. Yeah, I would still have Josh Allen over him just because Josh Allen has been in the playoffs and has had that experience. And then I will put Lamar over him just because Lamar has had that experience.
I have a question. I have a question, and I mean this in all sincerity. Where was that experience level for Joe Burrow when he took Cincinnati to the Super Bowl? I mean, he legitimately did miss like over half the season. And although it does help when you get draft picks like Jamar Chase in a loaded receiver class, and you end up elevating your offensive level of production, nobody in hell thought that Cincinnati was going to win double-digit games, let alone go to the Super Bowl by beating Kansas City on the road. I mean, every single game that they faced in the playoff run that they had was a road appearance. They knocked off Tennessee when we thought Tennessee was going to do something with Derrick Henry and Tannehill, and when they was winning the South on a seemingly annual basis. Then they knocked off Patrick Mahomes, and that level of maturity and experience didn't necessarily factor in when they ended up going in there and shutting them boys down, and he ended up leading that game. So, I mean, that experience thing, while it does have its place in the NFL, especially at the quarterback position, there are plenty of scenarios where that doesn't necessarily, it doesn't necessarily show a linear parallel between how good you are this season towards the next, or when you have these expectations versus when you have Lombardi expectations. I don't necessarily think that that's automatically correlated.
All right, Ben, let me break it down in our turn. CJ is that guy. CJ coming back next year for fucking vengeance. He got a squad. He got receivers. He got a O-line that you could look around the league. He's arguably top 10. He didn't play like of a rookie. He played, forget that, because I think that's just cliche. He played like one of the elite guys, and the only reason we don't give him his title is strictly off of his age experience and how little we seen. But we're quick to kind of crown these other guys. Like with Sauce Gardner, his first year, sure, everybody thought he was elite. I mean, he made first team All-Pro, but I mean, we could also say that comes with kind of biasness because of the market he's in. I mean, his stats are nice and stuff as well, but I mean, we give certain. I feel like we give certain players that level of respect just based off of that one good year, but we don't want to give it to everybody, or it's kind of a media agenda. Because truthfully, Joe Burrow, I think after his first year, he hasn't really. I think he's elevated his play, if anything. So I think we kind of got to identify that these unicorns and like, okay, he's different. Like, okay, we understand he's different, but also let's give him his proper respect. And if anything happens on the field that shows me like, okay, like I may have misspoke, like he's coming kind of back down to earth. It's like, okay, we can respect that. But I feel like
I think by mid-season, I'll definitely be like he's number 3 in the AFC. I think by like mid-season, it's just right now as we're talking right now, I can't, even though I believe in the guy for sure.
And Cheers, I ain't gotta say that. I know he believes, so we good. we good. He gonna be at a Texan game, either now or during the playoffs.
I'll be there. I'll be there to go see when I go to watch Kansas City beat them. That's when I'll be there.
Nigga said Kansas City. I done told you stay out that stuff, man.